Helluva Boss is a show that I like but don't really talk about to other people because nobody I know is interested in it at the moment. So I'll talk about it to you guys because I have things to say. Just as a disclaimer, this won't be as tightly scripted as my other videos, but I hope y'all won't mind. Thank you so much for the support on my last video. Seriously, that's more people than I know in real life. I'm so happy. Thank you. Anyways. So, Helluva Boss is a show that I watched upon release. To give some background, I'd been following VivziePop for a while, even having read Zootopia, so obviously when a show was announced, I watched it immediately. Truthfully, shows like Helluva Boss really aren't my cup of tea. Lackadaisy is more my vibe, but Truth Seekers just popped off so hard that I became instantly invested. It's also because I'm kind of an animation fiend. I used to dream about becoming an animator when I was little, so I watched many documentaries and stuff about it. I'm not an expert, I just adore 2D animation. Needless to say, I've been a pretty avid watcher of this show. And I know at times it's not really the most, let's say, tightly written, but considering it began as a training wheel show for Vivzie and her team to understand how to showrun, I'm still impressed by how far and detailed it's gotten. Enough intro though. I'd like to discuss my ideas and thoughts about Blitzo and Stolas, although I doubt it's much of a new topic. Okay, so throughout the relationship, I'd been firmly in the camp of they both have issues and need to go to therapy and maybe they shouldn't even be together, but part of me still wanted them to be together because they really did like each other as kids, and I don't know, their dynamic is cute, okay? When season 2 first started, after the bombastic high point of this and just the drama present here is chef's kiss. It's pretty entertaining and it makes you want to see what's gonna happen next. Considering that I was sort of dissatisfied with the cute but ultimately filler-esque episode that followed. After the full moon fight though, I went back and did a full-ass review of their relationship timeline to understand more of Blitz's side, and doing that made me realize how much of what he saw was influenced by what he believed about himself and Stolas. Blitz wasn't with us when we saw Stolas being so desperate and eager to please. He wasn't with us at this moment or this moment, and even when he did see Stolas trying to please him, he didn't have the lens that he probably does now, where it's like Stolas was genuinely trying to connect, but Blitz just saw it as Goetia something imps, you know? Although Stolas was being open and honest later on, in season 1 their bond really did seem a little out of nowhere. Like, why would Stolas like Blitz? There has to be more to show how Stolas sees him than just someone who yeah, you get what I mean. From the start of season 2, we saw Stolas' foundational views of Blitz get formed. Blitz was this cool go-getter who broke past the boundaries of what imps could do, and in Stolas' abusive, uncontrollable household, he really seemed in control of his life by comparison. However, what cannot be forgotten is the power dynamic between Stolas and Blitz, which is something that's been talked about for good reason. For Stolas, it may feel like there isn't one because he felt so disempowered with his home life, but there is one, and it's felt even in moments of genuine connection because that genuine connection was formed by a power differential, even in adulthood. Stolas may be able to disregard that, but for Blitz is not as easy because he is the one with less power. Where Stolas saw a boundary breaker paving his own path, Blitz was experiencing a life of tough choices, of trying his best to survive in a system that constantly screws him over. So I completely understand Blitz's feelings here. But on the other hand, Stolas is just, I love him, okay? He just reminds me of Mr. Peanut Bobber. Now you're probably thinking, what the fuck, okay, how? But hear me out. Stolas has a real problem with listening to other people, even when he has the best of intentions, just like Mr. Peanut Butter in this scene.
Sometimes you try to fix problems or make them go away, which comes off as dismissive. If you want to solve this, listen, really hear her. Beep boop, 72 degrees.
But both these characters love the people they want the best for. They just have some real problems showing it and often hurt those they love because of it. I think everyone has that line when they realize that something they've done has hurt someone. And I've seen Stolas come back from that line and apologize more than when I've seen Blitz do the same. And I think that's where I kind of feel for Stolas. Stolas needs to fix that habit of listening. And when Full Moon ended, I thought that they'd be spending time growing apart from each other before coming together as different mature people. But when I watched the latest episode, I realized that's not what Blitz would do at all. Blitz would view it as just a rough night, because otherwise there'd be no way to justify what he did and the conversation they had. Then he'd actually have to reflect on anything, and Blitz does not reflect, or at least he doesn't let it show that he does. It's really uncomfortable though, watching Stolas repeatedly express he does not want to be talked about in that manner anymore, and Blitz not respect that. I suppose it's supposed to be uncomfortable, but I just kind of wish the show drew a line. Blitz stalking the M&Ms is sort of comedic relief, and then this, it just feels a tad bit confused, but I digress. I mean, we haven't really gotten an episode on that conflict, and according to the trailer, something like that might be in the stars for us. People who do wrong and then feel bad about doing wrong don't always become apologetic even if they really want to be, especially if they have boatloads of unprocessed trauma. I mean, how many times has Bojack felt bad about something he said and just did something even worse to the person? It's also great to see how bad it is for them to talk to each other right now, because they're still stuck in that ballroom. Stolas is still being sincere and vulnerable, and Blitz is being angry and deflecting. This shot of Stolas being so far ahead of Blitz, and Blitz being stagnant and making his actual feelings into just a petty joke is really good. Honestly, I would have preferred it if the drama was given a bit more space to breathe, but at the same time, I'm happy that the drama and their relationship is changed by the end of the episode. I feel like if the argument of Full Moon was extended, it may have had a little too much likeness to the end of season 1. Although personally, I would have probably made an episode in between this and Full Moon for Blitz to think about his actions. Then again, I'm guessing that he can't start until he actually realizes that it's his actions. I think it's interesting that they decided to also explore more about this in-between step of deciding to respect the ending of a relationship. Something of this nature needs to be fully ended to possibly have any way of having something more in the future, although that remains to be seen. Stolas going to the party and being accepted by people, even drunk people, was something I wanted to see. Stolas has lived such a sheltered life, and the parties he'd gone to were mostly the worst, so it's nice to just see him have fun. Dialogues and conversations between the characters are so well written. The Full Moon conversation and the drunk conversation between Blitz and Stolas are just so incredibly heart-wrenching. Stolas' view on love really demonstrates my point about how sheltered his life has been, and Blitz's reactions to how he feels shows how unsheltered his life is. Also, this scene.
The point is, I just want someone to care if I stay or go. I want someone to want me, to want to see me, to hold me, look at me and think, you're the only one I want. I desire to hold you and talk to you, never let you feel so. You! Why are you here? I don't want you here. Go home, please. Let me not feel so sad.
Are you trying to kill me? The music in this show is also pretty well placed. It's nice to see that this season allows for more quiet moments of just showing, not speaking, with some great facial expression animation.
I would also like to mention the symbolism of the costume Blitz is wearing being like his past scars, because it's like white and red, like when an imp's face is scarred. Very nice touch.
Bryce did such a good job voice acting for Stolas, and similarly, Blitz's cracks and the flip-flopping between the facade and the real Blitz trying to be genuine is really well done by Brandon Rogers. The lighting for both Full Moon and this episode have been on point. Also, I don't know how true this is, but this is just something I observed. The width of the line art has been extremely consistent when it's changing between angles, which I remember that being a weird thing in the earlier parts of the show. Nevertheless, I sincerely hope Stolas can have the room to grow separate to Blitz, and in a similar way to Mr. Peanut Butter, mend relationships he's hurt because of his inability to listen, with the final boss, I guess, being Blitz. As of right now, Stolas needs time apart. I know people just want them to communicate, but they can't do that, and this episode is proof. Both of them are just too hurt right now, and when they hurt, they act badly towards each other, increasing that hurt. Blitz needs to back off, and Stolas needs to talk to his daughter and experience life beyond Blitz. Set up a good support system separate to Blitz, cause even though Blitz keeps being bad to them, at least he has Imp. At least he has the M&Ms, Luna, even Fizzaroli now. Who does Stolas have? His daughter? My hopes is that he'll be able to form more sincere connections to those around him. It'd be kind of cute if him and Verosika end up being besties, or if we ever see the nice imp dude he was dancing with again. I also hope the conversation with his daughter that we hear about in the trailer helps him see that he needs to listen more, instead of just assuming what the other person will say. If he doesn't, I will isekai myself into this universe to give him a hug, and then tell him to be better to his daughter, and also be more considerate of Pringle. That poor imp doesn't get paid enough. But when I see him, will it be tender or tough? Will it please him? Will I just be fucking it up? Can this be our relationship, or am I still naive? I'll set us free.